Alright, so in this video I'm just going to share with you my mean, harsh, and critical judgmental take on a really common attitude that I've seen in the health, healing, and spirituality world so commonly over the last 20 years. It's an attitude that I feel is extremely detrimental. It's something that held me back for many years, and it's something that I continually and repeatedly see holding other people back as well. And before people get super upset and mad and start crying and insulting me and doing all of the other things, in this video I'm going to explain it exactly how and why I have arrived at this point of view, and hopefully share something that will be more useful and more beneficial, so that hopefully people can produce better results and better outcomes and get more results and rewards from less amount of their time and energy invested. And it's really boggles my mind that so many people get so offended and so upset and send me so many angry, personally insulting and personally attacking emails, comments, etc., because I express critical opinions of this subject. Which to me, this is quite odd, because I will see people spend weeks and months researching a pair of shoes, researching a phone, researching a piece of technology, but then they won't spend a fraction amount of that time or energy on something like adopting an idea, adopting a belief system, doing a practice, doing a discipline, doing a therapeutic modality that can and very likely possibly will change the course of their life, positively or negatively. So it seems to me that people misuse and misguide their critical thought skills, if they even have them at all, and they're completely confused about the actual true nature of being judgmental and using their brain in a way that is useful and positive in their life. It's misappropriated for triviality, for social media, or for being mean to yourself in the mirror, or being mean to yourself and beating yourself up for something you didn't do in the past, or for researching trivia, when in actuality it should be applied to things that can have a profound impact on your life. But for some reason I try to do this to a very extremely small degree, and I'm just met with hatred and resistance and negativity. And the overall mentality and mindset and depth of understanding that I commonly see in these worlds strongly reminds me of like grade school show and tell. Everyone sits in a circle. It's like, hi, today I brought this. And everyone's like, oh, wow, that's so cool. Everyone, do you see what he brought today? Yeah, I saw it. Wow, that's so cool. Good job. That combined with Bible school, like summer camp for children, where these ideas are presented in kind of like, here's a fun, interesting way to try to introduce a concept in the simplest, most reduced terms to someone and have them kind of play with it. And I think these two dynamics I see so ubiquitous and so throughout the health, healing, and spirituality worlds. And it's this desire, this attitude, this underlying motivation to basically keep anything and everything at the absolute lowest level common denominator. It's an attitude of people wishing things were easier rather than investing in themselves to actually be better. It's basically an attitude of let's lower the bar, let's lower the standard, rather than admit or require our inadequacies to be improved or even acknowledged. And that's just the most common attitude that I've seen is, no, let's not point out that the individual or a group of people might be inadequate, might lack skills, might lack practical things. Let's instead just use soft language and be passive aggressive, be in denial, and use subtle emotional manipulation for people like myself or anyone else who might say, well, I don't know, this might not be exactly the way people are thinking that it is, and perhaps there might be a better, more effective way. And the problem is, and the reason why I say this is because these attitudes stretched out over a long enough period of time have this effect. Lower the standard, lower the bar, lower the standard, lower the bar. People become more incompetent, and people don't achieve the actual outcomes that they set out to achieve. And typically what are actually useful traits to build and encourage honest, transparent communication skills, meaning you actually know what you're saying and why you're saying it, and what you're saying isn't having this sort of passive aggressive other agenda behind it. You have personal integrity, meaning your thoughts, feelings, and actions are relatively in alignment. You're not in massive moral conflict with yourself. And you have self-respect for yourself first, that you then can use that as a framework to treat other people. So you're not trying to constantly shoot other people down and use these whatever language and whatever modalities to reject anything and everything that doesn't immediately make you feel comfortable. Because the fact of the matter is, people have it kind of backwards, where they go into these worlds where they think, oh, I heard this and it resonates. Oh, I heard that and it makes me feel so good. Oh, I heard this and it just clicks something within me. Oftentimes that's maybe not the most useful thing, because it's like going to the gym and saying, I just want to do things that make me feel great now immediately. And it's like, I mean, I guess if you lay in the hot tub, that'll feel great now immediately. But as compared to running or lifting weights or doing something else that's going to genuinely make you stronger or fitter, it's not going to have quite the same, gradual building of quality. Whereas I think the attitude here is, let's just lay in the hot tub and that's progress. And it's like, well, no, it feels great now. And I say that because many of the ideas that promote growth are uncomfortable at first, like anything in life, which kind of boggles my mind that people aren't unable to see the connections here. And the reason why I say a lot of these attitudes won't work is for the first reason I just mentioned, which is it's not building these useful qualities. And then secondly, it's more often than not an exploration in subjectivity, which is another way of saying personal delusion, where everything is nothing and nothing is everything. Meaning trying to use a flimsy, unstable tool to somehow gain a stable, secure, comfortable base. It's like we're standing on something that's like this, and it's, oh my God, but we think that's somehow going to make us feel the opposite. Or in actuality, it just typically causes people to go deeper into the opposite of what they're trying to build. And just logically speaking, contradiction is from the start is probably not going to produce very, very useful results. What is more useful is understanding what you're doing, why you're doing it, and where you're going with that, and most importantly, how you are doing that, which is the piece that is so often missed, how you're doing it. And it's odd to me that people don't realize that in order to be good at anything or successful at anything, skill is kind of required. Meaning you need some strength, internal oomph, you need some competency within that thing, and actually some understanding of what that thing actually is. And unfortunately, what's often missing from these conversations is personal responsibility and accountability, clear definition of terms, and clear understanding and definition of the cause and effect relationships that you're actually trying to work with. Because at the end of the day, that's life. We're working with those things. And if you don't know what they are, if you don't even realize that's what you're doing, it's hard to imagine that the outcome is going to be quite useful. So a great example to illustrate this is I've met many people over the years who get into this whole emotional catharsis thing. And they go to these weekend workshops, week-long retreats, where it's just people crying, screaming, hitting pillows, having this massive emotional release, right? And they think, oh, this is going to heal them or make them better and get rid of their problems and whatever. Which, of course, there's obviously a grain of truth to that, because if you're if you're like a pressure cooker and you're living your life just ready to explode, then yeah, having some opportunity or space to release the pressure from that system, obviously, duh. Like, it's shocking that I would have to point that out. And I just point it out because I'll say things like this and people will be like, yeah, but there's a one trivial small example and that's why this is what you're saying is not true. I'm like, well, no, that just actually proves what I'm saying is more true. So what I mean is, if you just have this pressure cooker situation, you release the valve, okay, that's cool. But you're also, again, not building any real qualities other than just maybe learning to release a little bit of pressure. Why is the pressure occurring in the first place? Why did the system get to that in the first place? What are the belief systems and the behaviors and the thought forms and the lifestyle decisions that led to that pressure cooker situation? None of that's actually explored and understood. What are the corollary qualities that someone should build to take them in a different direction so they don't end up in that situation again and again and again and again and again? But basically, my point is, what ends up happening is that the person just gets good at doing whatever that thing is, crying, screaming, kicking, whatever. And because it feels strongly, because they're having a little bit of a catharsis, basically their nervous system is quite stimulated. They're exploring an aspect of their fight or flight survival response, so they feel a lot. And then what happens when you feel a lot is one of three things, if not all three things. Your sexual based desires become stimulated because you're amped up. You have like a lot of mental stimulation, so you're going through all these memories, fantasies, flights of fantasy, or past lives, and you have all these emotionally induced visual experiences, which is, again, I think more or less the definition of delusion if you take it far enough. And then the third thing is you're just stimulating your emotions. So you get hyper emotional, hypersensitive to everything over time. So basically those three things combined, I wouldn't say are typically useful adult characteristics or traits, but that's basically what people are building because they're just stimulating their fight or flight response repeatedly and getting better at doing that. So over time they become probably less healthy and less effective. The other thing is that they don't actually understand the nature of the thing that they're working with. They don't understand the actual cause and effect relationships of their system. What I mean is they assume that emotions have a certain quantity, meaning they have like 10 units of anger, 100 units of sadness, 5 units of whatever, and if they just can catharsis it out, then they'll diminish the units. But that's not actually how it works. It's actually more to do with qualities than it is quantities. So basically, they think they're getting 10 units of whatever sadness out, when in actuality, they're just typically getting better at being sad. They're training their nervous system to more strongly and deeply feel the sad feeling. They're training their nervous system to more strongly and deeply go down all those pathways and associations. They're not training their nervous system to be more comfortable, to be more at ease, to be more competent and confident and effective. They're not training themselves to have more integrity, more responsibility. They're not understanding the definition of the actual terms that they're working with and not understanding the actual cause and effect relationships that they're doing. They're just getting better at being less healthy. They're getting better at being sick, which is the opposite of what they're trying to achieve. And I say this because I've met a lot of people that have gone down that pathway. I did myself for a period of time, and I just realized, didn't actually do anything. But people will try to invalidate everything I just said because it's like, well, no, I did it and I felt better. It's like, yeah, if you cry, if you have an emotional thing, you feel better. No one's denying that. But what I'm saying is everything I just said in this video is trying to outline and point out different things, different dynamics, different approaches, different attitudes, different mindsets, different qualities. And it just becomes continually kind of annoying that people are not willing to examine these things that have such an impact on their life, can change the course of their whole life, and instead kind of just want to keep things at the absolute basest, lowest level common denominator. People will say things like, I'm making this video so I'm degrading and insulting and berating and putting down people that are genuinely trying to heal, and I should just basically shut the fuck up, not have an opinion, not say what I'm saying because people are trying their best. And I understand on a human level we should treat people with kindness and consideration and empathy and compassion, for sure. I don't think having a difference of opinion or pointing out anything that I've pointed out is in any way, shape, or form not those things. And it's stupid for people to assume, if I met someone who's crying, or if I have a friend that's crying or going through an emotional thing, I'm going to sit down and be like, pardon me, sir, did you know? And I'm just going to start telling him all this shit. No. I thought we were adults. I thought we could have adult conversations. I thought if people are genuinely interested in improving, genuinely interested in fixing things or healing or whatever you want to call it, that they would be actually genuinely interested in doing that thing, which requires actual intelligence, skill, self-reflection, personal accountability, and some degree of skill, competency within the thing that we're working with. But I guess apparently I had some of those things wrong, some of those assumptions wrong because of probably what I just outlined in this video, meaning the general attitude of let's keep it at the mindset of grade school show and tell combined with like grade school Bible camp, and let's try to keep absolutely everything at the absolute lowest common denominator and make things easier for people rather than requiring people change, grow, or develop. And let's just continually lower the bar, lower the standard, and use as much soft language and be as passive aggressive as we can, live in as much denial as we can, and use as much subtle emotional manipulation as we can, rather than having the freedom and the self-expression as an individual to do what we need to do to actually be competent and skilled and, dare I say, somewhat successful in life.